space. So for example, if the particle does not exist at all in the outer time, it exists only in the inner time, its velocity will be summation of all c's from 1 to n over n, so it will equal to c. And if it exists in the outside time only without really going through the inner creation, but of course this is not possible. This is actually possible only for one directional, like for example black, dark energy, because it exists in orthogonal dimension. So it's actually only existing in the outside time for us, and therefore its velocity is zero. Therefore its temperature is zero, and that's why it's dark. Okay, because it's not moving with relation to us. However, it's moving, but it's moving in the other direction, orthogonal direction. So it's affecting gravity, but not affecting heat or motion or electromagnetism, and that's why we see it zero. So this is the limit of dark energy. This is the limit of vacuum. This is the limit of void. This is the limit of vacuum. So the universe is actually fluctuating between this and this, between real time and imaginary time. So now, the state of vacuum from our point of view is C0, because it's creation in the inner time and no motion in the outer time. So it's a flat space, like the Bose-Einstein condensate. And this happens when the outer time, when the imaginary time is zero. Okay, because the complex time together, since it's hyperbolic, it's t square tr square minus ti square. So therefore this ti is actually interrupting the continuous flow. Tr is because it's moving at the speed of light, which is actually in its own frame. It is continuous because it's infinite, and therefore it's continuous creation. Therefore, if there is no external time, this will remain a flat space. Only when there is external time, this will interrupt the internal time, and therefore Ti cannot actually exceed Tr. So Ti can either be zero or maximum Tr. If it's zero, we have C0. If Ti equal Tr, we have Cc. This is actually also a vacuum, but it's a vacuum of higher level or higher dimension. So actually we have more than one level of vacuum. That's why we have actually 7 heavens and 7 earths. So there are 7 levels of vacuum, because we have 7 levels of time, 6 internal and 1 external. And for each level of vacuum, we have 1 level of void, which are the levels of earths. We have 7 earths and 7 heavens, 7 levels of vacuum and 7 levels of void. Okay, so this is actually equivalent to our normal physical world where we live. Our vacuum is C0, whereas the orthogonal vacuum will be 0C. Now, we can get to this either by restricting the time between 0 and Tr, or restricting the velocity between 0 and C. Because if you put Ti equal R equal Tr, then you will have x over c. Therefore, if you replace, you will get Ti equal 0 and V equal 0 for when they are equal. Okay, if Ti equals 0, you will get V equals 0, and if Ti equal Tr, you will get V equals C, as we already said. Now, so as I said, so the normal state of our vacuum happens when this imaginary is 0, imaginary velocity is 0, but actually this is not the external velocity, the total velocity. It must be 0 for all vector velocities or movements, no real movements. Therefore, actually it's like 0 temperature. And that's why this state is equivalent to the Bose-Einstein condensate. It happens only at the extreme state of 0 temperature, where no movement of whatsoever, no even motion of any electrons or any protons. Of course, this is extreme state, like absolute zero temperature. Only in this case we will get infinite Euclidean space, which is vacuum, either described as dr0 for Ti or c0 for velocity. So this is our normal vacuum, but there is also opposite or orthogonal vacuum that is 0, 0c. Now, so as I said, therefore we have two arrows of time, one for our own vacuum and one for the other vacuum. And that's all because in the hyperbolic split complex numbers, we have positive signature and negative signature. So we are actually living in the positive side and there is a negative side. However, even for the, suppose we are living in the negative side, we will see it as positive and we will see the other one as negative. So it's a reflection actually, just like looking in the mirror. Okay. So actually it's 0c for us, but if we were there, it would be c0 or cv for that space. Now, okay, therefore we have supersymmetry. So we have the normal physical world, and the other actually describes the psychical world, but now I don't really want to explain why it is the psychical world, because this will take us to a completely different area. But believe me, it exists, and actually these two worlds exist together, and they are always in continuous communication and continuous conversion from these states to the other two states. Because if you combine these two supersymmetrical states, you will end up with full vacuum and zero void. So when you combine CC plus 0, 0, you will get 0C plus 0 plus C0. So the whole world, every point in the world, at every single point of time, it's always converting from void to vacuum and from vacuum to void, and in the process it separates to the two supersymmetrical world. Of course, this annihilation is happening at the points of geometry, and that's why we don't really see any effect of it. Because normally, if you have such a interaction, like matter-antimatter pairing or pair production, you will have, of course, very high energy, and this is even for the smallest micrograms, it will have a disaster or a explosion. So this is happening on the whole universe, yet it's not having any explosion or any big effect, and that's because it's happening sequentially, as we said even from the beginning. It's happening at the points of geometry one by one, and actually it's the source of our cognition and perception of the world. So our perception is in reality the meeting or the combination between the two extreme or two orthogonal arrows of time, and therefore causing a point of information. This is like light, and this is like zero, and this information is splitting into matter and antimatter. It's really very new idea. I don't know if this short description will be convincing, but anyway, let me now summarize for you the three possible states of the flow of complex time, which include the two arrows of time, and also the third, which is combining or making a new direction. Now, of course, we cannot really, as you know already, we cannot reach the speed of light by simple acceleration. But if you combine the two vacuum of C0 plus 0C, you will get CC, and therefore you will reach the speed of light only by pairing between matter and antimatter. So this means that we have actually three levels or three possibilities of the flow of time. Either the internal time is always less than the real time, which is in our case, we are living in this world. Always we cannot interrupt the real flow more than the real time itself. So always our internal, our imaginary time, our normal time that we are living in is always higher than, smaller than the real time, and therefore we have normal matter. So we have this state CV. So we have full inner time, full inner velocities, which is the velocity of creation, and limited external velocity, and therefore always Ti is always less than Tr, and it can never reach it except when we accelerate to the speed of light, which is not possible by acceleration, by simple acceleration. So this is our level of existence in the orthogonal direction, where Ti is higher than Tr. However, this equation is correct from our side, from our point of view. But if we were living in that plane, we will see Ti as real and Tr as imaginary. So now we see our time as imaginary and the space is real, but actually it's the opposite way. Our time is imaginary and the space is real. If we are in the orthogonal direction, we will see the imaginary time, which is now our time. We will see it real and the space will be imaginary. So it's just like looking in a mirror. Therefore, that vacuum will be, as we said, will be described by C0, and the creation there will be described by that will be described by 0C, and the creation will be described by VC, which is a state of antimatter. Now, only when Ti equals Tr, which is not possible by simple acceleration, as we said, we will get a new Euclidean space, which is CC, like in our case it will be spherical vacuum. And if you are in a spherical vacuum, if you again accelerate or you combine to this new, you get this new C, you will get a new dimension. So whenever you reach the speed of light, but not by acceleration, you reach the speed of light by pairing with the symmetrical vacuum. If you pair the two vacuums from 0C to C0, you will get 00 plus CC and the opposite. Then this new CC will be a new dimension or a new vacuum equivalent to the C0, but it's a higher level of dimension. So